Happy holidays. I'd like to first start out by just thanking everyone for your support and for taking the time to come visit my channel and just watching my videos. It's been a really fun ride this year. I've enjoyed my time and the growth of the channel, and I have a lot of great things planned for next year and looking forward to all of those things. And hopefully you'll stick around and we'll have lots of new faces next year. It's been a crazy year for mice, and as you can see, I've got 37 mice here. And these are actually not all of the mice that I've tested. There's a few. I just went ahead and discounted all the wired mice. There was about 10 wired mice I tested. I reviewed a couple of those, but my focus really is wireless mice. I just really think that's the future. And wired mice, while are still a thing, it's not really the focus of my channel. So I'm just eliminating those from this top 10 list, and we'll just focus on the wireless mice. Originally, I wanted to do just a top 5 list, but man, it was really hard to try and pare it down to 5. So I decided, what the heck, let's just do a top 10 list and get to talk about more mice, because if you watch my channel, you know I like to talk about mice, and I can just talk and talk and talk. So I know I may ramble on, and some people might not like that, but the people that stick around, I think, do. So I'm just going to double down this year and just do what I do, long reviews and in-depth. And if you want short ones, there's other reviewers. Anyways, I pared it down to 10. And there's a couple honorable mentions that I'll go over too once we get those 10 out of the way. Because really, let's say from like 5 to 10, those mice are so close together, and then there's even a couple that could easily have fit in those slots. So coming at number 10, we have the Vancer Castor, which is this mouse right here. This sports a 3395 sensor, which most of the mice on this list are going to sport that sensor. And it's a Starlight 12 type clone with a solid shell. And it's got some really cool accents, some cool details on it. And yeah, I really like this mouse. It's very balanced. And if you like the Starlight 12 shape and you wanted a 3395 sensor and not have to pay almost $200, then this mouse is the way to go for sure. Now, I definitely would recommend, if you haven't got this mouse already, there's going to be a pro version early next year, and that one, I wish I could talk about all the details of that mouse, but I'm going to say that mouse is definitely going to be in contention in the top 5 for next year's list for sure. So definitely be on the lookout for the pro version of this mouse. But for sure, this is a very capable mouse. Motion sync, all of the good stuff. It even supports super gaming mode, which sounds like a meme, but it's a real thing because the 3395 sensor has 3 different modes, and most of the mice use the office mode because it has better battery efficiency. There is a way on this mouse to turn on the gaming mode, and it's kind of a janky way of doing it, but in the Pro version there'll just be a little switch, I believe, and you'll see when it's enabled on the dongle. So again, another good reason to get the Pro. But if you can get this mouse, it's definitely a pretty good mouse. So coming in at number 9, the Xtrfy MZ1. Now this is the wireless version, and I was a big fan of the wired version. And again, this list is my preference. I'm not going to say everyone's going to like this mouse, because this is definitely a love or a hate mouse. This mouse is basically designed for Rocket Jump Ninja's hands, and luckily I have a very similar hand size to him, so it fits my hand very well. Now, this is a very unique shaped mouse with these really deep grooves, and it's just really weird. But I will say, if you give this mouse time and you've got the right size hands for it. Now, I will say, if you give this mouse some time, it took me a good week of using it before I started to get used to it. Now, I will say this is a difficult mouse to switch back and forth between other mice, because it's so different that when you use this mouse for a while and you go to other mice, it feels really weird to transition. And vice versa, if you stop using this for a while and you go back to it, it feels weird for a while. So this is definitely a mouse. If you think you're going to main this mouse, then this is a good choice. But if you're the kind of person that switches between mice, it may not be the best choice, because like I said, it's very unique and it takes a while to get used to. But I really love this mouse, and I aim really well with it. It's really light, and I'm really hoping that this year we'll get an updated version with a 3395 and a solid shell, and maybe a lighter weight. But I don't have any confirmation on that. But Xtrfy, if you're watching, I'd love to see that. So coming in at number 8, we have the Fantech Aria. And this mouse right here holds a really special place in my heart. It was the first 3395 sensor mouse on the market, and it's got a really cool egg shape, and the switches are very clicky. It's got some of the best side buttons of any of these mice here. Now, it's also got some very cool shells, some transparent red and blue shells that you can swap out on this mouse. Fortunately, I had some that were supposed to be here, but they got delayed or something, so I really wanted to show that off in the video, but sadly it didn't make it. But when I do get those shells in, I'll do a separate little video to see what it looks like. It's really cool looking. But again, if you like the Orochi or the Logitech G305, you might like this mouse. Now, it's not exactly the same as those, but it's kind of something in between, a little bit bigger. So if you felt like the Orochi was too small for you, which is what I felt like, this mouse fits my hand really well. This is definitely one of my favorite mice, and I definitely pick it up and use it quite often. It's also a really good value. You can get it around the $70 range. So now coming in at number 7, we have the Xtrfy M8. Now, I haven't done a full review on this. I'm working on it actually, so this will probably be my next full review. And as you can see, this is the first mouse that they've done with a solid shell, and it's got a very peculiar front end. And as you can see, it's so low right here. There's no mouse charging port in the front. It's here on the side. The balance is really good. It's really lightweight. Got great side buttons and main clicks. Really nice scroll wheel. I really do like the coating, even though people complain that it's really slick. For some reason, I really like slick coating. And I know that most people don't, but that's just, again, my preference. And what I like about Xtrfy is they are a company that likes to take risks. They don't play it safe, and they come out with new shapes. And while they're weird sometimes, it's different. And when we have a lot of people basically copying each other, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. So good job, Xtrfy, and I really like the direction that you're going with this mouse, and I'd love to see some more new shapes, which I think they've hinted to, and also going back and redoing the other shapes that you've done before with solid shells and updated internals. This is the first 3295 sensor mouse for Xtrfy also. Again, great mouse. Love it a lot. So then coming at number 6, we got the Ninjutso Sora, another mouse that I just got in, and I'm going to be doing a full review of this right after the Xtrfy M8. Now, this mouse is only like 47 grams. It's super light, very good build quality, and the shape is really nice. It's about the same size as a Pulsar X2, but whereas the X2 is a little bit flatter right here, this kind of curves in, so you kind of get more of a locked-in feeling. Now, I will say, at first, for some reason, I was getting cramps using this this mouse, but that's not uncommon for me. I just have to use a mouse for a few days, and then my hand just knows what to do. So after giving this a couple of days of use, I've found that I don't cramp up anymore, and it actually feels nice in the hand. So again, if you get a mouse and you don't like it at first, I always say just please give it a few days, and you might find that you'll adjust to it, and you might find that you like it. And in this case, this is a really great mouse. Everything about it I like. And this is also their first 3395 sensor mouse. So anyways, good job, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else you got up your sleeve this year. So now we're at the top 5, and at number 5, we've got the Lamzu Atlantis. Now, this mouse surprised a lot of people, and honestly, it didn't really surprise me. Once I saw this mouse and I started talking to these people very early on, I could tell they knew what they were doing. They were very passionate, and this is really their first mouse. Now, they have made a lot of mice for other people, so they're not rookies. They know what they're doing. It's just the first one that they designed for themselves. And the build quality on this mouse is phenomenal. The look of it's really good. The only thing for me is that this mouse is a little bit on the large size, and I don't really like larger mice that much. But I will say, even though it is larger than I like, it's still a great performing mouse for me. Now, the awesome thing about that, also one of the awesome things about this mouse are the switches, which are Huano switches, which I absolutely adore. If you send me a mouse with Huano switches, you're already getting a couple extra points. So I'd love to see more mice with Huano switches in 2023. Also, optical switches would be cool to see more often than the standard KL 8.0s. Now, what I'm really excited about is next month we'll probably see the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. And that mouse, I believe, is going to be potentially a top mouse for myself, because I absolutely love this mouse. I just wanted it to be a little bit smaller. So when I get that small version of this mouse, I think I'm going to have a mouse that I'm absolutely going to love. Another thing, too, is recently they've updated their switches, and they have transparent blue Huano switches that are designed specifically for them. I believe the newest batches of the Lamzu Atlantis have those switches also, and the Mini should also. Anyways, really good job, Lamzu, and keep doing your thing. And I know they've got even more great stuff lined up. I've gotten a peek at some of it, and it looks really awesome. So keep your eye out on them. This is going to be a good year for them, I believe. So now coming in at number 4, we've got the Pulsar X2. And I'm going to go ahead and bunch the X2 Medium and the X2 Mini together, because really they're the same mouse. They're just different sizes. Now, personally, I love the Medium, and I wasn't really sure that I was going to like the Mini, because with the X-Lite, which is also a really good mouse, I preferred the medium size X-Lite over the Mini. So I actually delayed getting the Mini X2 because I honestly didn't think I would like it as much. So when I saw the red version, I went ahead and got a copy of that. And I was really surprised how much more I like the Mini X2 over the medium. Again, it may just depend on the size of your hand. I've got 19 by 10 centimeter hands. Now, one thing that people may not like is it is rather flat on the sides. Some people don't really like that. Some people say that the X2 feels wide in their hands. And they also have complained about the clicks having QC issues. This is a first batch, and I've never had any QC issues with this, but there was a bunch of people that have had those issues. And in the later batches and the Red Mini, they refortified the switches, which has helped, apparently has helped reduce the amount of QC issues. Now, one thing that was just officially announced, and even though it had been kind of teased before, is the Bruce Lee edition of the X2. And the one thing that we know about it is, besides the cool yellow and black design, is it has optical switches. So I believe the review copies of that are going to go out next week, and I was told I'm going to be getting one. It also comes with a really cool Bruce Lee pad, which I'll be getting too. So their new mouse pads look, they have a Poron-like base. It's not Poron though. It's something like Alpha Cell, I think is what they call it. But anyways, I'll be really looking forward to checking that out. Has a really cool scroll wheel also, really sharp looking mouse. And I'm looking forward to seeing what those optical switches are like. So stay tuned on the channel for that. I will definitely push forward that review as soon as I get it. And I'll just put in just a little bit of time because it's really the same mouse, I believe, with just optical switches. So I'll put in a day or two of testing, and then we'll go ahead and get a review out as quick as possible. But all in all, the X2 Mini is definitely one of the main mice that I use when I'm playing for my enjoyment, because it fits my hand perfectly, and I really like the feel in the hand, and I aim really well with this mouse. And the great thing about the Pulsar X2 is there's a bunch of different colorways that are out there. So a lot of them are limited, but if you look on Max Gaming, they usually have extra copies. So it's a good place to go. Even if it's sold out officially, quite often Max Gaming will have a few of them laying around. But I believe the purple, there's a purple one right now, and this red one you can get at Lethal Gaming Gear or straight from Pulsar. So now we're moving on to top 3, and I'll be honest, it's really, really hard for me to slot these last 3 because they're all really good mice, and some of these choices might be controversial other than one, which is, I think, will be pretty obvious when we get there. So at number 3, and this honestly was a surprise to me because I've had some bad experiences with these this brand's mice in the past, mostly QC issues, but I would say that they've done a really good job at turning that around. Now, of course, if you know anything about this company, and that's Gwolves, you know that they've had a battery issue, and that particular mouse, the updated version of this, the HSK Plus 4K, had a battery issue where it was exploding when it was being charged, and they've done a really good job of addressing that and getting them replaced and taking ownership. And instead, in the past, they weren't as cooperative, and they would usually throw blame. But I think they're starting to learn from their mistakes of the past, and moving forward, I'm very happy to see that. This mouse, by the way, if you like fingertip mice, this is a very unique mouse, and it's probably the best fingertip mouse on the market. Now, I would go ahead and get the newer one because it's even better than that. So I'm going to go ahead and lump in both the Ace and the 4K. So the Ace, the one that I have, is based on the 3395 sensor, and then the 4K is the 3399. However, I believe the latest batches have swapped it out for the 3395. So that's a great deal. Because I do like motion sync, I think it makes a small difference. So really the main difference is this one has 4K and this one doesn't. So while the 3399 does support motion sync officially, it's not a true accurate implementation like the 3395. But again, that doesn't really matter because if you haven't bought this mouse already, you're going to get one with a 3395 with real motion sync. So I don't think that really matters. Really, again, what matters is one has 1K polling hertz and one can do 4K. So if 4K polling hertz matters to you, then you can pay the extra amount of money for the 4K version. This does have a bigger battery in it, and it weighs a few more grams more than the regular Ace. And it is noticeable, but you're going to need that bigger battery if you're using 4K because you definitely don't have as good a battery life with this. However, you don't have to use the 4K. You can also just use 2K or just the 1K. A lot of that also depends on the quality of your computer, how fast it is, and also the refresh rate of your monitor. So if you don't have the best computer, then really a 4K polling is kind of a waste of money for you. And again, really the difference is it's just really small. I mean, we're talking like half a millisecond most likely. It is a difference that you can chart, but again, it's really small. Is it worth it? You know, that it's up to you. If you're a very competitive person, you want every little competitive edge that you can get, then yeah, it's probably worth it. And there's only a couple mice that have got 4K on the market. So, you know, good job, Gwolves, for being one of the few that have done that. Now, the main thing that I've said in the past with Gwolves mice is QC issues. And this mouse right here, which is the medium HATI, this is my second version of it. The first one double clicked right out of the box. And the replacement I haven't had any issues with. But a lot of people have issues with Gwolves mice. Now, up until that exploding battery, a lot of people were noticing how good the QC on the last couple batches of mice have been. And I will say I have zero QC issues with both of these mice. The build quality is really good. There's no double clicking, no shaking or rattling. Just really good quality on these. Now, I do know that there's been a bunch of drama with Gwolves and certain people, and it's a real shame. And, you know, they sell products, and people potentially might buy these products. And as a reviewer, I'm going to cover it because I want people to be aware of, you know, whatever products are out there. And I definitely have noticed a difference in the way they handle things over the last month or so. So hopefully this is just a start of good things to come for Gwolves. I definitely look forward to seeing what else they have up their sleeve this year. But definitely two solid mice. Now, for the number 2 position, I've noticed that this is the number 1 mouse or mouse combo for most other reviewers. But again, this is my personal list. If I'm going just based off of tech and the quality of the mice, you know, these probably should be number 1, but the shape and the size of the mice don't really work that great for me. Now, we're talking obviously about the Razer Viper V2 Pro and the Razer Deathaddler V3. Now, if we get that Viper Mini, whatever it's called, with the same tech that's in these, that mouse I could definitely get behind because I think the shape-wise and the size will work perfectly for me. But we don't have that mouse yet, and that'll obviously be on next year's list. So that will probably be in the top 10 for next year. Anyways, the build quality on these mice is phenomenal. Very light. Very solid construction. Optical switches. I admit I don't really like the way that they feel and sound, but they work really well. And there's like almost no latency on these mice. The scroll wheels are really nice. And the side buttons, especially on the Dave, are really nice. They're big and easy to hit. I will say out of the two, I probably like the Dave a little bit better. It's just really big. It's very similar to the X-Lite, which I also like. But the X-Lite's just a little bit smaller and works a little bit better for me. So I think there might be a mini version of this also in the works, which I definitely want to check out when that happens. But like the Gwolves mice, there's a 4K option, and there's an extra dongle that you can buy. And the good news is if you get that Viper Mini, it's going to come in the box. I believe it might still be in stock. The last I checked it was, and there's a code, I think it's 4,000 hertz. That'll give you half off, and you can get it for $15. I have it, and it does work for both mice, and there is a perceivable difference. It's just really small, but it's technically a really good advantage. The latency on these mice are pretty much some of the best on the market, if not the best. And like I said, the sensor is amazing. The weight balance is good. These are just really solid mice, and they're readily available just about anywhere. So it's really easy to get a hold of these. Now they're expensive. I think they're like in the 160 range, but this one especially sometimes gets down, I think, in the 120s. But all the mice in my top 3 are all expensive. They're all at least 150 or more. But again, these are probably 2 of the safest options for you. And everyone knows Razer, they're safe. But I had to include them because there's very little downside to them. Okay, now I guess that leaves the number 1 mouse for me in 2022. And I'll admit I was very surprised by this mouse. And some of you might be surprised that I would choose one of these mice but again, if I was making a list that was just mice with technical specs and what I would recommend for other people, this mouse may not make the list. But for me, this is the mouse that I just absolutely love using. It doesn't have the greatest tech, but just to feel the mouse in hand, the weight, it's just phenomenal. And I just do the very best with this mouse. Out of all of these mice, this is the one I perform the best on, and it feels like I'm not holding anything practically. And that would be the LuceOut Overlight. Now, this mouse right here is basically a handcrafted 3D printed mouse. It uses the internals of the Deluxe M800 Pro, which is actually a decent mouse. Now, this mouse right here for under $50 would be my top buy. This has a 3370 sensor in it with KL 8.0 switches, and they've improved the skates and the side buttons and also the coating. But again, for under $50, this is definitely a winner. It doesn't make my top 10, but if you don't have money to buy any of these mice in my top 10, then this is definitely one you might want to look at. I'll have another budget one I'm going to talk about here after I get past a few more of these. So back to the LuceOut mouse. This is a 3D printed mouse, and it basically is it's not an exact clone of the G Pro Wireless, but it's very similar. As you can see, it's actually smaller. And obviously quite a bit lighter because this thing weighs only 38 grams. And when you look at it, it looks like it's extremely fragile. And it does have a little bit of flex on the top, but the sides, there's really zero flex whatsoever. I was honestly shocked how sturdy this thing is. I've actually dropped this thing several times, and it is very stable and sturdy. The mouse wheel is 3D printed. It's probably not my favorite mouse wheel, but it gets the job done. The side buttons are not the greatest. They're dot switches, but I will say that the way he implemented them, they're definitely an improvement over the Deluxe M800 Pro. Now, on the bottom, at first when I saw these like little tiny skates, I thought, oh, these can't be that good. But actually, these little tiny skates are some of the best little skates I've ever used. This thing is just like a floating feather when you're going on a mouse pad. It's just shocking how this feels in your hand. It's like you're holding nothing. Now, the main disadvantage of this mouse is the battery. In order to get down the weight, it has a little teeny tiny battery, and you only get about 10 hours of use with this battery. So I found myself pretty much every single night after gaming, I went ahead and charged it. And if you forget, like I said, it's going to die. But you can definitely plug it in. It comes with a good paracord cable, and you can use it with a cable, of course, but it definitely doesn't have the best battery life. Now, I will also say that this actually works really good as a productivity mouse, and it's just effortless. Now, also with some 3D printed mice, sometimes there's like little extra bits and everything. I mean, there's nothing like that. Everything is just perfect. And I'll also say some mice with holes are really annoying, but I don't know, but the way that these holes are, I barely feel them in my hand. I don't actually mind it so much. Now, the price is 150 euros, so it's not cheap, and it is older tech, a 3370, but a 3370 is still a flawless sensor, and there's just a small amount of difference between this and a 3395 or the Hero sensor or the one that's in the Razer. Now, perhaps LuceOut might have better internals in 2023. You might be able to get a 3395 in here. I'm not sure. The other great thing is he does have like I think 7 other shapes, and he's adding other ones all the time. Like he just added the Viper mini clone called the Wiper Mini, I believe. And then we've also got right here. This is a XM1R clone, which is very similar to the Atlantis. But for me at least, these are the only 2 shapes that I tried, and the Overlight one is the one that worked best for me. Really, it's the shape and just the 38 grams that works really well. Now again, I just can't express enough how great it is to play with this mouse. And another negative is if you use this mouse for a while and you pick up any of these other mice, other than maybe the HSK, you're just going to feel like these things are just bricks, that they're really heavy. Before this mouse, I thought that any mouse under 40 grams would really not be that viable, but after using this at 38 grams, I figured that that's actually wrong. Now, I don't know where that floor is, because I do believe at a certain point, I think it's going to be a disadvantage. But at least in the 30s, I do see improvements in my aim and just comfort level. So again, this is my top mouse, and if you're interested in it, yeah, you can get it from LuceOut. I will definitely have links in the description of all the top 10 mice if you're interested in purchasing any of them. And I'll probably throw in a couple links to some of the other ones that are recommended. So now that we've got the top 10 out of the way, there's a couple honorable mentions I do want to talk about that probably could easily have made the top 10. And the first one is the Coolmaster MM712. And this is definitely on some people's top 5 lists, and it could easily be there. It has a 3370 sensor, and it's got a really good shape, and I admit that it is. This is a really good small mouse. Locks into your hand really well, and it's like $70. So this is a really good deal, and Coolmaster's definitely had some QC issues like Gwolves, but they really pulled it together with this mouse. and very few issues. Well, I've heard of very few issues with this mouse, and I've had zero. Now, the one thing that I'm not crazy about for me personally, and this is why I did make my personal list, is the sensor is forward, and that just feels weird to me. I don't like the way it feels. Some people really like that. So if you're someone who's had experience with a forward leaning sensor, then this mouse definitely would be one I'd recommend to you if you like that. It's really light and a good deal. So this is a great mouse. Check it out. The other one is the Polax, the Vancer Polax, and it's a nice Argo shape. It's very small too. It's one of the smaller ergonomic mouse, and it's got a 3395 sensor. And there will also be a Pro version, just like the Castor. So if you like this shape, you might want to wait for the Pro version, or go ahead and get this one if you want. Now this mouse right here, this is the Fantech Bolt. And this is kind of an underrated mouse. It had a lot of QC issues when it came out, kind of got a bad rep, but they did come back and fix a lot of those issues with later batches. And it's just a really good shape, and it's a pretty good deal. I know some people really love this mouse. And if you like I think it's the S2 shape, then this mouse might be for you. I definitely enjoyed my time with it, and I pick it up every once in a while. But you definitely can't go wrong with this mouse. And then, of course, we got the final mouse, Starlight 12 10s edition. And for some people, this could be in their top 10. And I do like this mouse quite a bit. I do like the feel of the magnesium shell. And it has a 3370 sensor with a Nordic MCU, and the QC on my particular copy is really good. Now there is a ton of complaints about QC issues with these mice, so that is something to be concerned about, especially at the price with tax and shipping. It's almost $200 for. Now this is the medium version, and I've never tried the small version, and maybe I would like the small a little bit better. And I think if I had the small, maybe it might have made my top 10 list. But again, this could easily be in there. It's a really good mouse, and it's just hard to get. And lastly, I want to talk about another mouse that is a really spectacular deal price-wise. And that's the Darmio Shark N3. And this is a 3395 sensor mouse. It's an ergonomic mouse, but it barely has any curve to it. It almost feels like a symmetrical mouse, but with a little bit of curve. I have a full review of this, and the reason that I recommend it is this thing is only $66. So it is cheap, similar to the Aria, but I think this particular shape is a little more universal than the egg shape. Now, I will say the click quality is a little bit better on the Aria, but there's nothing wrong with the click quality on the Darmio Shark. The only thing I'm not terribly crazy about are the PTFE feet. They're not the best. But I have another copy that I went ahead and put sapphire dots on, and that made a huge difference. So if you do have any sapphire dots, or even just I have some Tiger Ice dots that I'm going to test out on this one, and those are really cheap. So I think that might be a really good combination, and for the price, it's a really good deal. And if you live in Asia, I believe you can get this thing at some places as low as, I think, $33, which is insane. So this and the Deluxe M800 Pro are definitely my best budget options. And one last little mention, I really do love the X-Lite mouse. It's just I really would like to see the V3 version of this, which I think we're going to get next year, with a solid shell and a 3395 sensor. I don't know for sure if they're going to have those things, but it just seems logical. but I do pick this mouse up and use it quite often. So this is a really good mouse if you like ergonomic mice. And this easily could have been in the top 10 for sure. So really, that's about it for me. It was a really good year, and I really look forward to next year. There's so many cool mice that are coming out. There's a bunch that I know quite a bit about, and I just can't talk about it. But if you knew all the things that are coming out, you would be really, really excited like I am. So there's some really great innovations and just some stuff that's going to probably surprise you and come out of places that you are not going to even see coming. So lots of awesome stuff coming our way. But before we go, as I said in the intro, we have 5 collaborators that have taken some time and given us clips of their favorite mouse of 2022. And just like you, I watch lots of other creators. I pretty much watch all of the reviewers that I know of, just because I enjoy watching reviews and I like to know other people's opinions. I think it's great to get second, third, fourth, fifth opinions on different mice. Everyone has a different perspective, and eventually you might find the reviewer that you agree with most, because mice and mouse pads are very subjective things, and people have different taste. And some of the reviewers I agree with all the time, or some of the times, and some of them I rarely agree on anything with. But that's just the way it is. And that's why I wanted to include some of these other reviewers, so you can just get a different opinion on some of the mice from 2022. And there's definitely some in these clips are ones that I didn't talk about at all, or don't even have right here on this table. But there are a couple that I did talk about that you will get a different opinion on, perhaps. So to start things off, we'll go ahead and start with Gary from Good Enough Tech Reviewers, who's definitely one of my favorite tech reviewers, because I just love his humor and style. I could watch him review anything. That's a sign of a good YouTuber. It doesn't really matter what they're doing. It's the way that they do it. And he's just an entertaining person to watch. And I'm very happy that I got him on this video. So go ahead and take it away, Gary.
David, season's greetings, my old pal. There's been a lot of great mice this year: the Deathaddler V3 Pro, the HTS Plus 4K, and even a new shape from Vancer. But there's only one release this year that could burn through your hand in a blazing inferno of 4000Hz glory. And that, of course, is my very own little firecracker, the Gwolves HATI-S Pro 4K. This microscopic little Chad is the smallest, lightest wireless mouse around. It's packing a 3395 sensor, up to 4000Hz pole rate, motion sync, and the kind of impressive build quality you've come to expect from the new Chinese gulag Gwolves have seemingly imprisoned their factory workers in since the HSK and HTS Plus releases this year. As a fingertip main, I am firmly ride or die for little shorty and will likely be simping for her for the foreseeable future. Is this a safe shape for everyone? No. Do I see this mouse becoming a mainstream hit? Of course not. Is it small enough to insert into your bodily orifice of choice? Only if you're brave enough. With all that being said, should you blind buy a little pump and have a Chinese fingertip time bomb of your own this Christmas? Probably not, unless of course you are using code GETREVIEWS at the checkout to save yourself $10 and earn my modest affiliate cut. Then, of course, consume away recklessly. Do we think that's enough obligatory Gwolves shilling for Dave? No? Well, Dave, that's all you're going to get, sadly, so back to you.
Entertaining as always. Thanks, Gary. And next up, we have Kyle from Gekko Tech Gaming. Kyle's one of the toughest dudes I know. He beat cancer and still has time to do a YouTube channel. Definitely one of my heroes. So without further ado, take it away, Kyle.
Hey everyone, my name's Kyle. I like geckos, gaming, and long walks on the beach. And I'm going to tell you what my favorite mouse of 2022 was, or at least two of them. So up first is the Viper V2 Pro. It is kind of vanilla, not even gonna lie, but it's hard to argue with the quality you get with the Viper V2 Pro. You get optical switches. That means you get maximum durability as well as minimum latency for gaming use. And you have the 3395, and that comes with motion sync that Razer really got perfectly down. All of that leads to a perfect esports ready mouse, and paired with the reduced weight, as well as getting rid of those dumb rubber sides that came on the Ultimate version, really make for a top tier mouse. And if you can get your hands on it, the 4K hyperpolling dongle means that this is very future proof too. And for mouse number 2, it's actually going to be the M42 Wireless from Xtrfy. This thing is just a beast. Now, this doesn't have the same components as the Viper V2 Pro. It does still have a 3370 sensor, which is still an excellent performing sensor, and KL8s for the switches, and even though those aren't optical, you can reduce the debounce time down to 2 milliseconds, which isn't perfect, but still very good. The nice part is that all of that can be done on the mouse itself, meaning you don't have to have an extra software downloaded onto your computer. What makes the M42 really special in my book is the fact that this hump is swappable. And what this means is that you can modify this to match whatever your personal preferences are in terms of grip style, what your hand sizes are, and more or less, I mean, you're basically getting two mice in one when you get the M42 Wireless. And that's a feature that you don't really see in other mice. But anyway, David, thanks so much for having me on, man. You guys all take care, and God bless. I'll see you later. All right?
Man, I always love the production quality of Kyle's videos. Very underrated. And next up, we've got Lemonade from Upgrade Lemonade. He's definitely an up-and-coming reviewer, and he's just absolutely pumping out the reviews. I can't keep up with the guy. He's definitely going to be passing up here real soon. I enjoy his reviews, and he's always pretty much spot on. So go ahead and take it away, Lemonade.
Hey folks, Upgrade Lemonade here. Shout out Dave for having me on to talk about my favorite mouse of 2022, a mouse from 2021. Yeah, I know it's a shocker, but since I never got a chance to use it back then, I'm doing it now. And we have the Prime Mini Wireless by SteelSeries. Now, when this originally released, it had a price tag of $130, weighed 73 grams, and had a 3335 sensor in it. And while the weight and the sensor didn't change, the price has. Now, I picked this thing up for $77, and you can even get it on SteelSeries' website. I saw for as low as $45 plus $10 for shipping in the US. And at those prices, this thing is a steal in my opinion. Mainly for one reason: shape. Holy. I really did not expect to enjoy this as much as I have. It's one of the most fun experiences I've had testing this year. I never liked ergo shapes in the past, but this one's unique. It tapers aggressively towards the back, so it doesn't flare out back here as much as you would think. The advantage of that is it kind of slides under your palm a little bit easier. It has a flatter right side, so it feels a bit more like a symmetrical mouse. On this side, you have just a better area to grip. And on the front, it tapers to a fine point, fairly narrow as it moves towards the front here, almost like an arrow. The switches have a nice thick sound to them. They're optical magnetic switches rated at 100 million clicks. They have deep comfort grooves. The coating is textured for grip. Now, the weight again is 73 grams, and while it's something I got used to, it's definitely not necessarily extremely lightweight, but it's not a chunker either. Now, lastly, what about the sensor? So I'll leave you with this little tidbit. Kerrigan, the lead from FaZe Clan's Counter-Strike team, just recently won a tournament this year in 2022 with his team. And that tournament had a prize pool of $1 million. And you guessed it, he was using the Prime Wireless, which is essentially just a bigger version of this mouse. Everything internally is the same, including the sensor. So if it didn't cost him a tournament and he didn't feel like he was at a disadvantage against the top players in the world, some of which were using G Pro Superlights, I promise you, you'll be fine. If you can find it at around $70 or less, it's a fantastic, unique little pick. And on that note, thanks again for having me, Dave. Back to you.
And thanks a lot, Lemonade. That was awesome. And next we got Zorz from Zorz Gaming. And I was very happy to go ahead and get this dude because he is one funny son of a bitch. And I don't like to cuss very much, but this dude is really funny. I really think he's got talent. I think he's going places. So if you haven't seen his channel, definitely check him out because he's just a funny guy. And he's got good content also. So go ahead and take it away, Zorz.
Big shout out to Dave with Gen 3D Tech for inviting me to be on this. Any one of these could be an easy contender for top mouse of the year. No doubt, no doubt. As fantastic as they are, there's one mouse that stands, in my opinion, above these. It's something that did what has never been done. And I'm talking about the Xtrfy M2K. It's crazy. Look at the reaction when I first opened this.
And this thing is absolutely gorgeous. I don't even want to touch it. This is not real. This thing can't be real.
And my dad's reaction.
Oh my God, this is a mouse? It looks like a cockroach. Look at that, there's nothing here. How the hell they got that to work? It doesn't even feel like you're picking up anything.
Anything, right?
Nothing.
This thing represents the pinnacle of engineering. You have to feel it in your hand to understand just how crazy this thing is. The build quality is next level German engineering. It just is. If you like fingertip and you don't care about a wire, give this thing a shot. The feeling, the tracking, the speed, everything about it was next level. The coating, never did I have a problem. You can take one of these things and you can change the tension. Did you guys know that? You can make it either lighter or snappier or a little bit more mushy, however you like it. Never ever have I clicked something that involved a person's murder so fast, ever. Hydrogen's close, but this thing just, ooh, death, instant death. As gamers, we always want to buy the new thing. But you remember back in the day when you bought a mouse and you used the mouse every day until it had a whole indentation where your finger looked like it had taken the whole coating off? Well, I did that. I used this thing for an entire year straight. It took abuse after abuse after abuse. I smashed it. One time I hit so hard, somebody shot me out of somebody opped me. I hate hoppers. And I really hit it hard. Still goes. I chose this, not because it's necessarily the best for everyone, because it's such a polarizing shape. Some people are just gonna throw it against the wall and say, what is this? This will probably be the last masterpiece wired mouse ever. I might even main one of these and not this, but still, this had to be the winner. A true work of art. I just love it. Stay Zorz, and I hope we all grow as people and as gamers in 2023. I will sell a kidney to get an M3K.
Whoa, now that was Zorz. Anyways, that's about all I have for this video. I definitely want to give a special thanks to all the creators who collaborated with me on this video and made it a very fun and entertaining experience. I will definitely have links in the description to each one of the creators, and I definitely recommend checking them out and giving them a sub if you like their content. And if you like this video, please leave a like. And if you haven't subbed yet, I definitely would appreciate a sub because I am getting very close to 1,000 subs, and that would be a really cool end of the year thing if I could actually hit 1,000. I don't think I am going to, but it would be awesome if I did. Christmas miracle maybe. If not, I'll probably hit it next month, which would be cool too. But definitely stay tuned and keep checking back because I've got a whole ton of reviews. They are just piling up. I got like 10 mouse pads coming in, and I've got a bunch of full reviews that I'm working on right now. I've mostly got them filmed. I just got to do some editing, like the Xtrfy M8 that I mentioned, and the Sora, and there's other mice that are that are showing up real soon, like the Bruce Lee X2 edition. And like I said, I believe I'll be getting the Atlantis Mini in the next couple weeks, hopefully. Yeah, lots of amazing stuff coming. And I just thank you for all of the support that you've given me again. And really looking forward to next year and all of the awesome stuff that I'd love to be able to share with you. And can't wait to see where we're at next year and what mice are going to be in the top 10 in 2023. So happy holidays to everyone and have a happy new year. Later.